The Geoff Lenox Feel Good Happy Time Podcast.
I met a non-dairy creamer, explicitly laid out like a fruitcake, with a wet spot bigger than a Great Lake. Took me to the new church and baptized me with salt. She told me liquor, I am a new man. Hot freaks! This one is on the house. This one is better than ever. I walked into the house of miraculous recovery and stood before King Everything, and he asked me to join him in the Red Wing. Took me to Pyland, said I'm a thigh man. I will be eternally hateful. Hot freaks! Hot freaks! Hot freaks! This one is on the house, and this one is better than ever. This one is on the house, this one is better than ever. This one is on the house.
What's up, everybody? I'm Geoff Lenox, and I'm your host here on the Feel Good Happy Time Podcast. The last episode of the Feel Good Happy Time Podcast, at least for a while. Don't start crying. The show's not over. It's just changing names because I've recently been picked up by Stone Chrome Radio. Hard rock, heavy metal, all kinds of music. Internet radio station. And it's a good move for me because they've got a few thousand listeners, which is much bigger than my listener base right now. So we're moving on up. I'm going to have my first episode air this Saturday at 4 p.m. With a rebroadcast of it the following Friday at midnight. And that's my schedule right now. It's a good thing. It's going to keep me honest. Because I started this out saying I was going to do it once a week, and then I fizzled down to once every 2 weeks, and then it pretty much became whenever I fucking felt like it. And now I've got people that I'm responsible to, and it's going to make me an honest, hardworking man again. It's just been tough, you know? I'm fucking fried. New dad. Yeah, you know the routine. I bitch about it every fucking week. Anyway, it's 12:45. in the morning, and I'm just getting started here on this one, hoping to get it out for Tuesday. Did you guys have a happy 3-day weekend? We had a 2-day weekend in my house. My wife always has to work on the holidays. But hey, I'm off the wagon again. Not hard. Just had to take a little break from the whole sobriety thing. It gets fucking old. Really does. I didn't get out of control, and now she's got me on some fucking crazy ass diet too. She's trying to lose the baby weight. I don't know. She's like kind of insinuating that I need it as well, but we're on some fucking crazy thing where we're like eating powder all day long, and those are like shake days, and then you have the cleansing days, which are like, it's 2 days. It gets even more extreme than that. I'm already fucking starving. I'm dizzy. If I babble on more than usual, that's why. There's nothing fucking fueling my brain right now. I don't even know what I'm going to do. I'm a fucking angry individual as it is, you know, and I throw temper tantrums nearly every single day because I get so fed up, like being a stay-at-home dad, and I can't cope with it. And now I'm going to be fucking hangry from it too. That's my word for a combination, hungry and angry. I don't think I invented it, but just in case you didn't know. And, you know, my wife's scared too. She's like, oh, Jesus, like, you're already a fucking bitch as it is. Now I don't even know if you can do this. She's the one that put me on it. It's like a thinly veiled fat comment. And that's all right. I am getting way out of shape. I've been on the fucking couch for like 2 months, just getting up to change diapers. And then other than that, sitting there with a bottle plugged in my kid's mouth. Can't even fucking watch TV because, if I turn on the TV, then she doesn't pay attention and won't drink her bottle. Or, if I try to watch a show or something, she starts fussing, and needs to be moved or played with after 20 minutes. So it's just been 2 months of sitting there because of my broken shoulder with the skateboard accident that led to, my newfound sobriety. 2 months of sitting around, losing muscle, gaining fat. And, we've got a wedding to get ready for. My wife's trying to lose her baby fat. And I guess I'm along for the ride. So, yeah, drinking again. I don't want to say it like that. I don't want to say drinking again because it's not like it's like all day, every day or nothing. It's just that I had a few beers on Saturday. I just couldn't fucking take it anymore. I mean, it was like a beautiful day, even by LA standards. We're out at the beach with one of her hard partying friends. And, we were supposed to watch the UFC fights later that night. And instead, I got overruled by the ladies and we watched the Warriors Rockets game. So, yeah, I had to have fucking beer. Well, I don't know. There's been a million reasons why I should have beer in the last few months, but this is the one that cracked me, which is a little weird. I said I was going to make it to 90 days. I made it to fucking 70. It was actually 10 weeks on the dot that I caved. And I've ordered my breathalyzer, my new backup plan, which I've mentioned in other podcasts. I'm going to carry that with me. So there is uncontestable evidence for when I am too drunk. No more like, I think I got this. It's been a couple hours. I fucking ate a sandwich and some wings. That should have balanced out at least one of those beers. So yeah, I think I'm good for another. No, none of that guesswork. It's just like blow into this thing. Boom. You're drunk or you're not. So that's my plan. Hopefully it serves me well. Who knows? 2 months from now, I'll probably be whipping my dick out in public and smacking strangers in the face again, but I'm hopeful, as I always am. Anyway, that first song you heard there was Hot Freaks by Guided by Voices, and this is the much anticipated Ohio podcast that I said I was going to do when I heard that Heartless Bastard song a couple weeks ago. And threw it on the last podcast. I wanted to do one dedicated to the hardworking bands of Ohio. Like I said, I mean, it was like, growing up there, you just kind of felt like that everything great kind of came from somewhere else, And there were a few bands that accomplish something great or would really impress you, and they seemed like, even today to me, they seem that it's more impressive than a band that comes from LA or New York or Chicago or Austin or whatever, where there's a developed music scene and thousands of people, because it's like they stuck out the odds in a smaller pool to draw from and managed to put together something great, which is amazing. Guided by Voices from Dayton, one of my favorite bands from Dayton, and I saw them a handful of times when I was growing up there, and that's my favorite song. I don't really know that much about Guided by Voices, to be honest, but I just, from the shows that I went to, that was my favorite song, and I don't know if it's a big one or not. I wouldn't say it's necessarily indicative of their overall style, because they're kind of an all-over-the-place band, but check them out. At times, at least, they are great. So, I was born in Los Angeles, and my dad was using the Air Force to pay for medical school. And once he had graduated from his medical school, he owed the Air Force 4 years. and they transferred us to Dayton, Ohio. And my parents got divorced. My mom stayed. My dad moved around a bit, and we, moved with my dad briefly to Milwaukee, but then within like a year or two, we'd moved back in with my mom, and then I grew up in Dayton for the most part, and it's what I would consider my hometown. We had a band, like, I'm trying to think of, I started my first imaginary band at like age 12. There was another kid who pretended to play drums. I pretended to sing. And there was another guy who pretended to be a guitar player. And I think at first it took like 2 years before we ever even actually got in the same room together. But we were a band. We just fucking sit around at school and talk about it. Like, yeah, we're a band. We got together, one time at like age 13 for some big rehearsal, and we played Jonathan Richman's Roadrunner, not because I was sophisticated enough to know who Jonathan Richman was, but because the Sex Pistols had done a cover of it. I guess a 13-year-old who knows who the Sex Pistols are was pretty sophisticated, but not at that time. They were having a real resurgence. They had done a cover of it on The Great Rock and Roll Swindle, and we did our thing the Sex Pistols way. It was something we could almost play. I think there's like 3 notes in the song, and simple, steady, 4 on the floor beat all the way through. But that was, I'd like to say it got better after that, and it never really did. That continued all the way up until about age 23. My bands were completely imaginary. In high school, my best friends and I, we had another band that never really made it out of the garage. We tried to write some songs. I was one of the main guys in charge of songwriting, and they were pretty shit songs at the time. I don't know what happened. It was like, and this would have been like 17, 18, 19 that we were faking a band and writing songs together. And then all of a sudden at like 23, I wrote my first one that was good. And after that, most of them I'm still pretty happy with. Like when I look back on it, anything before the age of 23 was complete fucking shit. And everything that came after, if I put it on a record, I'm pretty happy with it. And there are only 3 or 4 more songs that I didn't put out on albums. So I don't know what you can say about that. Anyway, imaginary bands all through high school, and just, going and seeing other bands like Guided by Voices, and, wanting to do it so badly, but not having the facility to do it. Bands that hit big from Dayton, and there weren't many, they were just like, they meant everything. When we were in junior high school, the Breeders had their big hit with Cannonball, and I don't think it was like top 10, but it was on MTV and everybody knew it, and that everybody knew they were from our area. I think their drummer had gone to our high school, and then they opened for Nirvana, and like more kids were wearing the Breeders shirts the next day than they were Nirvana shirts. I didn't really give a fuck about Nirvana, as we mentioned in the last podcast. I didn't really care about the Breeders either. I tried to go back and listen to it, like, oh, maybe I'll play that song, but it's not my thing. Check them out if you like. There's the song Cannonball. It was their obvious, big hit, and you'll know when you go to iTunes or YouTube or whatever. It's got 1,000 more times more plays than the other ones. I'm not going to play that here. I like Kim Deal as part of the Pixies, but the Breeders were never my thing. There was this other band at the same time that my imaginary drummer turned me on to, and they were called Brainiac. And they were going to be like the next big thing out of Dayton. And then unfortunately the singer died. The singer died in like 97. So we were like 14, 15. I don't even know how this guy knew about him. When you're 14, 15, he didn't have an older brother or anything showing him this shit. But somehow he knew about them. I never got to see him live. And because, this would have been like, 1995 that we were catching on. And 1996 is when we were all able to drive, and the singer was dead in 1997, so I never caught him. But what I heard from the EPs that he had, and then I later copied them, which I didn't feel guilty about back in those days, I really liked. And this is a song off of their last album. It's called Hissing Prigs in Static Couture. And the song is Nothing Ever Changes. This is Brainiac. So the band thing wasn't working out real well for me in high school, and I was determined that I was going to run away to Los Angeles and start a band, you know, just like Axl Rose and Izzy Stradlin had done from Guns N' Roses. I was going to jump on a bus and go out there and start a band. And it's funny, like, that's not what ended up happening. I was looking around for, like, on Facebook. I reached out to a few friends that still live there to see what's going on with music and who I should be playing on this podcast. And I ended up talking on the phone the other night to a good friend of mine, or he was a good friend. He's a good friend, I would say, still, but we haven't talked in probably 10 years. I think when the first TSI demo came out, we emailed back and forth a little bit, and he bought that. And other than that, it had probably been 12 years or something since we've actually spoken. So we talked forever. And he was like, let's just cut the crap here. I'm not a fucking hard and gritty punk rocker. I fucking went to college. So let's just get it out of the way. And I was talking to this guy, Rick, and he's like, you know what I remember, man? He's like, me and Carrie, this other girl from our class, he's like, we were talking, and like, Remember how that guy just didn't give a fuck? Like, he didn't want to be there at all. And all you seemed to care about was your band. And like, you didn't pay attention to shit in class. And it's totally true. And here's the backstory on that, is that I was going to run away to Los Angeles once high school was over and start a band. And it became a fucking ongoing war in my house. And I mean, like, every single day there was a fight at some point with my mom. See, my mom, her parents didn't believe in college, and they weren't going to pay for her to go to college, and they didn't go to college. And it was really important to her. And she grew up in the 60s and 70s when the American dream was still alive and flourishing. And if you went and you worked your ass off and you went to school, you were going to get a good job and you were going to be on a better track than the people before you. Or at least that's what she believed. And this is her belief system. And she struggled and put herself through college. And, she was adamant that my sister and I were going to go, and my brother. And I had good grades. I had gotten a couple of scholarships and things, and I didn't want to use them. I didn't want to do that. I was just going to run away and start a rock and roll band, and we would fight and fight and fight, and she would bully me about it, like, about how I don't know how to play any instruments, and I'm not really any good at music, and this and that, and I need to go. And then it became like there were full-on fucking hearings with like friends of the family, friends' parents. Like, I would get called into the room, and like there would be like 10 adults in there or whatever, all trying to persuade me to go to college. Like, you need a backup plan, you need this and that. If you want to do the band, you can. And we would fight like crazy, but I don't know. Sometimes I think that maybe that's the difference between why I am where I am now and where maybe, if I'd gotten a little closer to where I wanted to be. Did Kurt Cobain, would he have listened if his, he wanted to run away to start a rock band, but mommy said no? Would Axl have done it? Sid Vicious? I mean, the one thing I knew was that Jim Morrison had gone to college. Although, I mean, I think he went, probably because he wanted to, and then decided to become a rock singer later, which was not where I was at. I was basically caving to the fucking man. The man at the time being my mom. But I went to college, and it was a fucking prison sentence. It was a 5-year program because, I should have just done something like fucking easy, gotten a degree, some bullshit degree that I could have like worked through in like 2 years or something if I really wanted to get on with the music thing. But, at this point, I was starting to like question myself because all the adults are beating on me all the time about what a bad idea it is to not go to school. And, one of their selling points was that I could start a band while I was at school. So that became my primary focus. I was there. Number one focus at school was drinking. And then number two was starting a band. And somewhere way down the line was like becoming a designer, because that's what I chose, was industrial design or product design, for you guys that don't know. And it was a pretty tough program. And a pretty serious school, and they're well respected, University of Cincinnati. And I met this friend, Rick Wolf, who was the guy that I was on the phone with. And he's laughing like, yeah, you just wanted to start your band. I didn't think it was funny at all, at the time. It was serious, and it was really frustrating. And I never got a fucking band going there too, because in Cincinnati my experience was that like, I would try to find a band, and it was like you could either be in like some stupid fucking Dave Matthews college rock type of bullshit band, or you could be in like a Metallica tribute band or something like that. And I didn't want to do either of those. So I spent year after year just meeting with people and searching classifieds. And in those days, you didn't have internet classifieds, so I'd print ads and stick them up all around the music conservatory and all along Short Vine, which is like the street that had, it was like half ghetto, but it was also where the bars and the music clubs were. There'd be like just junkies up and down the streets and cheap porno shops and porn adult toy stores, and then like a music venue or something like that. And I would post flyers all up and down those streets. I actually have an interesting story about that. So I was just talking the other day. I got a good review for my album, and I wrote to the guy on Messenger to thank him for writing me up so well. And he's struggling putting together a band himself, and he posted something on Facebook about how you just run into the biggest fucking losers when you're trying to start a band. And I've said this forever, that you should, like, somebody should make a reality show out of this. Not about like the fucking super groups or these karaoke contests or like forming the boy band or whatever, but real bands who don't have resources and connections and a bunch of money, who are using like, Craigslist or other classifieds to build their bands. It's always hilarious. And I have the craziest stories from that, and have met the weirdest people in my life. One of those stories was that I was posting these want ads up along Short Vine, the ghetto, by University of Cincinnati campus. And I got a call one day from this guy, and he says, "Can I speak to Geoff, please?" This is he. "Hi, Geoff. I saw your ad, and I'm interested in coming and playing with you." Okay. "Well, to tell you about myself, I'm a large black male." That's what the guy describes to me. And when I start kind of laughing, like, okay. He's like, "I'm about 50 years old, and I play blues." I'm immediately picturing B.B. King. That's who I think I am going to, I'm on the phone with. And he says he loves the Rolling Stones, and he loves Cream and Eric Clapton, and he loves doing covers. And at this point, it's like, well, the guy's 50. He probably plays pretty well, because everyone does by that age, whether you practiced a lot or not. It's added up by that point. And I'm not doing anything. I like those bands. I mean, I like the Rolling Stones anyway. So why don't we get together? And sure, he wanted to work on some covers just for fun. So I'm like, yeah, sure, man. Come on by. And I was drinking. I mean, if anybody who knows me thinks I've been bad, in their experience, this college was a whole different animal for me. I mean, I was really pushing it. And I think it was like the first time he shows up like an hour early, and he comes into our house. We lived in this place called the Ghetto Mansion. All of you see the housing. It's actually in the ghetto, like a bad, rough ghetto. And we had a house with 10 bedrooms and 3 living rooms, really, and 3 stories. And I was in the downstairs empty one. That was what I was going to use for rehearsing. Everybody else was in the living room up above us. And they weren't coming up and down the stairs at that point. This guy walks in, and he is like 6'5" and like 350 pounds. And he's a cross between Lemmy, and not Lemmy from Motorhead, but Lemmy from Mice and Men, like the semi-retarded, dangerous giant, and Fat Albert. He looks like Fat Albert. He has like I think he had a pair like khaki pants, and then a bright blue shirt with some rainbow suspenders on. And he's obviously like a little slow and a little weird. But he was nice enough at first. And so we sat down. He has this little amp like the size of a pack of cigarettes, one of those pocket amps. And he starts kind of horribly noodling on one string at a time through Little Red Rooster and a couple of old Stones standards. And I'm like, okay, cool, man. Sure, we can meet up and do this again some other time. We did that for an hour. I'd half-ass sing over him or whatever. And then I sent him home. And I'm thinking like, okay, I got to figure out a way to break up with this guy. And I'm going to call him, but I lost his phone number. we didn't have cell phones. They weren't in your phone or anything. It was on a slip of paper that got lost somewhere in the hovel that I lived in. And I wasn't able to call him. And I'm like, oh, fuck, what am I going to do? Actually, I think I met up with him a second time, and it went even worse than the first. He showed up even earlier. He kept showing up earlier and earlier. Like, I'd tell him 11 or noon. I'd tell him noon, he'd show up at 11. And then the next time he'd show up at like 10:30. And so it's the third time that I'm going to meet up with him. I can't find the phone number to call him off. The night before, I discovered Steel Reserve. Somebody was drunk out on the sidewalk, like a friend of a friend, who was like, man, this stuff's crazy. You ever want to get really fucked up real cheap? Go get some of this. And he was drinking a tall boy of it. I went and bought 2 40-ouncers. I chugged one, ran around like a maniac in our 10-bedroom house doing God knows what. And then I woke up with half of the other one gone, and I'm hanging off of my bed with my arm down by the bottle, and the bottle's pouring out on the floor 8 hours later. And this dude is downstairs, Lemmy is downstairs banging on our glass window. And I go downstairs like, oh, fuck. And it's like 10 o'clock. He was supposed to be there at like noon or something. He takes the bus over. He was, not a wealthy individual. So I'm hungover as shit. He's fucking 2 hours early. I got my naked girlfriend up in my bed, and I'd rather just be up there sleeping it off. But I felt bad because he did take the bus all the way over, and I just apologized. Like, look, man, I'm really sorry. I couldn't find your number. I didn't know what to do about it. I knew you were going to show up today. I'll give you a ride back. I know you take the bus. I'm really sorry. But, to tell you the truth, I'm not really sure this is working out anyway. I'm really busy with classes. And he's just stares at me. And I'm a fairly tall guy, and he's way taller. And we're down in that living room. He's like, I don't like this, Geoff. I ought to smack you in the mouth. I'm just like, excuse me? And he's like, I'm not leaving here till I play something. And I'm like, yeah, that's not really an option. I mean, I had like a dentist appointment that I had to go to or something in an hour or two. And that's why I was also going to have to call off because I had a doctor's or dentist appointment. And so there's this huge, mentally disabled dude who could outweighs me by, at that point, he probably outweighed me by 130 pounds at least. And, he's pissed off and he's not leaving until he plays something and he wants to smack me in the mouth. And this is pussy shit. I should have told him I didn't like him when I first met him and I've wasted his time and this and that. I'm like, yeah, I'm sorry, whatever. Just, shut up. I'm getting pissed off here. But, you're right. I had you over. Anyway, I end up having to drive this guy back and he demands $5 for Burger King. In order to leave peacefully. I'm like, fine, whatever. Here's $5. I'll drive you to Burger King. I'll take you home. He lived in a really sad project house. I'm like, all right, what the fuck ever. And that's, more or less how internet classified ads usually work out when you're trying to build a band. And there were plenty that were just as bad or worse than that. So now I'm at college and Cincinnati, in a lot of other ways, it didn't work out well for the band, but I sure had a lot of fun drinking. I was reminded, and the whole thing that inspired this podcast is this band called the Heartless Bastards, and this is their song called Parted Ways, which I heard on the radio the other week and just fell in love with it. I played it on the last episode. I'm going to play it again here today because I think it's just fucking awesome. They come from Cincinnati. They had their first show at the bar, The Comet, which was like the indie and, whatever you would call like a punk hangout. That would be one of the closest things they have in Cincinnati was The Comet. Heartless Bastards with Parted Ways. Heartless Bastards with Parted Ways. That is a current band that they're not stuck in Cincinnati anymore, but they are from there originally and still consider that their hometown. And I think they come back and play quite frequently. So yeah, I was talking to my good friend Rick from college, and he's another guy. He's off doing something that's really, really awesome, and he's stayed in Cincinnati, and he believes in that place, and he encourages band. He takes pride in knowing, the music scene, and getting excited and getting behind bands like the Heartless Bastards, and that's awesome. It's like when people can do that, especially in a smaller town. It's just, like I said, it's just so much. It means so much more than somebody, getting big coming out of, a place like New York or LA where all the resources are there for you. So, Rick is off. He's got his own business doing custom tile. You guys should check it out if you're in need of it. This will be my first advertisement ever on my podcast. And, if I'm embarrassing him, he didn't pay me for it anyway. But Wolf Custom Tile out of Cincinnati, Ohio. And seriously, check out the website. It's fucking amazing stuff that he's done. So he's gone on to do cool artistic things. I don't know if he dropped out of our program. I don't know if he went and got a degree somewhere else, but man, I should have fucking dropped out. You don't need a college degree to do what I wanted to do, and I really just think it got in the way. I think it took 5 of my best rock and roll years away, and that's how I felt and behaved the whole time I was there. And to this day, if I'm sitting around with my mom and she pushes the wrong buttons, I'll lash out because I'm pissed, that I got talked into college. There is no job that I want that you need a college degree for. Anything that you need a college degree to go do, I don't want to do it. I do it now because I've tried. I've gone and become a bartender, and I've fucking done construction, and I've fucking sold weed. And, none of them pay as well. And so I just end up, feeling like out of responsibility to my wife and kid and things. Is like, okay, I'm going to go glue my face to a fucking computer and sit at a desk all day, and hate my fucking life. But it just doesn't make sense to spend 3 times the amount of time, out somewhere else doing another job that maybe I enjoy more. Woe is me. There's so many people out there that probably like, I just sound like a total fucking spoiled brat, which I am. Anyway, I was asking Rick what's up with the music scene now, and he turned me on to a whole bunch of different bands, which I checked out. But there is this band called Wussy, and they have a song Teenage Wasteland, which is not a Who cover, and I think it's awesome. My wife listened to it with me. She really liked the song, but she was like, well, why did they use that name? It's like, don't you realize that on my new solo album Into the Light, like nearly every single song is already a famous song title used by somebody else? I think it's cool. It's like I'm going for this like cliche American rock and roll thing, and part of our thing in America is we reuse shit constantly. Movie titles, movie concepts, song titles, covers, whatever. And I think I'm just tying myself into that lineage. Plus it's awesome for the search engines when somebody tries to look up a famous song and maybe yours pops in there because you named it the same thing. Anyway, this is Wussy with Teenage Wasteland. That was Wussy with Teenage Wasteland. When I was at UC, I didn't have any bands that I was into. There just weren't any. Wussy is current, so if you're around that area, you can go see them. I plan to see them if I ever have the opportunity. But there were no local bands that I was into when I was at school. For the whole fucking 5 years, I couldn't really find one. I mean, I think that the hip-hop scene was more vibrant at that time, I guess. And I went to a few shows of that, and I thought that the talent of the local hip-hop artists, maybe because I know dick about hip-hop, which is, why it was more impressive to me. But, never really saw a band while I was at University of Cincinnati that I really liked. And then I heard about this band Moth, and it was because the guys that were in Guns N' Roses at the time, and like I said, I was super fan back in those days. Tommy Stinson, the bass player from The Replacements, and Josh Freese, the session drummer who's been in every single band, who's ever needed a sub for their drummer. And he's a member of A Perfect Circle and the Vandals, and now he's a member of Devo as well. He was in Nine Inch Nails. He's done fucking everything. He's played with absolutely everybody. And I consider him to be like the best drummer in the entire world. But I was, probably like searching for them on the internet or something and came across that they had both played on this record by this band Moth. And then I start reading more about Moth, and they're like supposed to be, again, the next big thing. Like they're getting written up in magazines as like, watch out for these guys. I think they got a write up in Rolling Stone, and not cover or anything, but they seem to be on their way. And so I bought their album that had just come out called Fictions, Provisions, and Gear. Provisions, Fiction, and Gear. Fuck, I think it's Fiction, Provisions, and Gear. And I was just blown away. I thought it was the most fucking amazing thing. Turns out, I just missed them. They had just kind of left Cincinnati as their home base. A guy in my class, like his girlfriend, her ex-boyfriend is the singer in Moth, and, he was dating her 2 years ago before this or whatever. So I missed them by like that much. They were gone from the area. They were supposed to come back for a festival. I went down to the festival and their appearance was canceled. I don't know what's up. Anyway, they released this brilliant album. I mean, absolutely brilliant. You should go check it out. And I'll play the song, and while the song plays, I'll find out the proper title. But I think it's Fiction, Provisions, and Gear. And then they had some personnel problems. They obviously had session guys doing the drum and bass on their record. So they rounded out their lineup, and then I guess they didn't take off as well as they were expected to, maybe dropped from their label or something. And what I'm about to play you is not from that first album. I'll let you guys check that out, but this is from the album after that.
Myself, I'm a look
was Moth with Immune to Gravity. If you like that, check out that whole album, and then definitely check out, it's called Provisions, Fiction, and Gear. That was their breakthrough. But I don't know what that dude's doing now. Is Brad Steinmetz or something like that is his name? Brad something or other. And he was like bouncing around LA and then back to the Cincinnati area and then back. Wherever he is, if he's still playing music, I can guarantee you it's fucking good. Everything that he wrote was witty, it's original, and it's fucking rocking, a lot of it. So if you live in Cincinnati or Dayton or whatever, keep an eye out for that guy. Or a comeback from Moth. It doesn't look like they're active right now, but god damn it. You know, we let another good one get away unappreciated. Next I'm going to play a little bit of the Afghan Wigs. Which I gotta be honest, I mean, it's like one of those bands, just like Nirvana, that I was always supposed to like, but really didn't. At least not in the early days. And now they're out with like a newer sound. One of my best friends is really, really into them, and I just didn't have the heart to not play them on here. So I called him up like, all right, dude, what's their good song? What am I gonna like? And he's like, dude, go check out the new album. And the new album is fucking awesome. It's not rocking like I expected, because I thought they were supposed to be kind of like punk garage noise sounding. And, you know, the older stuff, I guess, is closer to that, but it's still not something that I'm interested in. And this new shit, I mean, this sounds like, you know, if you know what I've been working on and you know my songs Damned and things, you might believe that they were an influence on me. I think it's totally badass. I mean, it's not fucking driving hard rock. It doesn't make me want to kick my mom in the face. But I think it's great. This is the Afghan Wigs from Cincinnati, Ohio, with their song Algiers off their 2014 album Do It. Sorry, it's not Do It to the Beast. Due to the Beast. So once you've covered Cincinnati and Dayton, they're really only like 2, maybe 3 of what you would consider like cities in Ohio. Not that all music has to come from the city. It's just that, that's what I'm going to find. I certainly don't know what's going on in the mountains. There's Columbus, which, I don't know that much about. I didn't spend a lot of time up there. Ohio State, just because of what it represents, not my favorite place in the world. There's the New Bomb Turks, which are okay with me, I guess, but I don't know that much about them. And I feel like, I don't know if I'm going to do a podcast like this. Well, no more podcasts, but I don't know if I'll do a show where I pigeonhole myself into having to pick like all bands from a certain place or that type of thing, because it's tough. You still want to develop a flow. So from Columbus, the band that I would be most interested in would be the New Bomb Turks, but I feel like we got this like artsy, funky thing going here, and I don't want to. We'll save the punk rock. We do enough punk rock, and I'm going to do even more now that I'm on a hard rock metal channel. We'll do the punchy in the face kind of punk rock, on another one. This is a cool podcast. I don't get to play a lot of cool music, usually because I'm just such a meathead, and that's kind of, the podcast that I'm trying to present is like driving rock most of the time. I know I bounce around quite a bit, but it's fun to do one like this. Makes me feel like smoking cigarettes again. So we're going to skip Columbus, and don't know anything about Toledo, and that basically leaves Cleveland, which I don't think rocks as hard as its reputation might have the rest of the world believe. But there are a few things. 9 Inch Nails came from Cleveland, but I have played God knows how many 9 Inch Nails songs on this podcast already. And like I said, I'll be playing plenty more down the road, I'm sure. Let's keep it cool. So who else have we got? We've got the Dead Boys, the legendary punk band. Again, I'm going to save them for later, but their singer, Stiv Bators, is from Youngstown, and he has this great song from his solo album called A Million Miles Away. And I think it fits perfectly. I'm going to go find a pack of cigarettes. This is Stiv Bators with A Million Miles Away.
Nothing puts new, but you can't go. 'Cause I'm with the clear.
So that is the late, great Stiv Bators, former singer of legendary punk band The Dead Boys, and a Youngstown, Ohio resident in his early years. Born there. That'll just about do it. We're at 67 minutes. Next one's due to the radio station Friday morning. I got to cut it. I got to get used to doing these right in an hour. Got to be funny. Got to be witty. Got to be cohesive. And I better play some fucking awesome music. And it's going to go back to heavy driving stuff, I think, most of the time. At least until I win people over. So, anyway, this was kind of a relaxed one. And it was a subject that it was like, I said I was going to do it. And then I started having second thoughts. And then, you know, all these people started putting time and effort into it. You know, my friend Rick Wolf calling up. And he gave me all kinds of information about all kinds of bands. And all I ended up using was Wussy. But there were so many other great ones. Yeah, I mean, Ohio isn't as bad as I thought it was when I was there in terms of, I'm not saying it's a bad place and I'm not trying to shit on it, but like, you know, when I was trying to start a band, I felt like it was impossible while I was there. And now having this retrospective kind of podcast, you're like, man, all this really cool shit came from Ohio. And then, you know, if you know enough, you could probably do this on all kinds of different states that people wouldn't think as hotbeds of art and music and culture. But damn, you know, like I said, over and over again, it's just even more impressive when it does come from here. I hope you guys are going to continue listening, and I hope I've got some new listeners here starting soon. It should be a few thousand, so I better get my act together. I don't know if I'm going to keep using this tagline, but being that this is the last podcast played to a small group of my friends mostly, I'm Geoff Lenox. If you're listening to this, you are the resistance. I'm going to leave you guys with the band Devo from Akron, Ohio, and their song, Beautiful World.